Blasting President Obama about the latest Obamacare delay.
And it's purely political, and the entire Washington, D.C. political spectrum understands now. They're not delaying the implementation because it isn't ready. They're not delaying it to help anybody except themselves. They're not delaying the implementation because they're having trouble getting it right, because they're never going to get it right. It's never going to do what it was advertised to do. It is a punitive piece of legislation. The administration will let employers with 50 to 99 employees off the hook in 2015. I mean, that right there. The regime will let, in their magnificent munificence, they will let employers off the hook. And so to be in compliance with this law is damaging and harmful. And so we're going to let them off the hook. They'll be required to report on how many workers are covered, but they will have until 2016, after the next two elections, before they face a penalty for failing to cover employees. The regime knows full well that if they don't delay the implementation of this thing, the Democrat Party, is dead.
My colleague Sean Hannity joins us. Good evening, Sean.
Hey,
and
Greta.
I don't think Rush Limbaugh left any skin on the president after that one. He skewered him about this delay.
Let me just add one point. I'm sure he probably made it at a different time, but they made this decision after the president met with Democrats when they were on retreat. So to reiterate Rush's point, this is a political decision because this will damage them and hurt them in 2014. Look, Greta, I have in front of me, I went through the text again, and I called experts that I know this law backwards and forwards, or 2,400 pages of it, and nowhere in this 24 pages of the law does it give the White House the authority to change the terms. Constitutionally, we have co-equal branches of government, and we have checks and balances, and we have what's developing and emerging here, an imperial presidency. There's a level of lawlessness here that the American people need to be paying attention to, whether he decides unilaterally not to enforce immigration law, if the president decides he's going to eliminate welfare work requirements, or if he's just going to delay aspects of a law because it's not convenient for him. As a lawyer, I would think that's a big deal.
Well, the president does have some level of discretion, but at some point when you keep delaying, granting exemptions, granting special deals, you have so aborted the original intent of the statute that you have changed it dramatically. It's not just a matter of discretion, but you have written your own legislation, and that's what the Republicans are so upset about, is that what the president is doing with this law is so vastly different from the law that the Democrats had passed a couple years ago. That's what's upset the Republicans.
Look, it should upset anybody. You are a constitutional lawyer, and I think you said that very well, very articulate. There's three things here. Not only the lawlessness that goes beyond just Obamacare, because now we're creating an imperial presidency. Why is Congress even there? If he's going to just willy-nilly decide to change a law, why do we have them there? You know, there are checks and balances, co-equal branches of government, separation of powers. Secondly, I think this law has shown government a level of staggering incompetence that I don't even know if we can fully measure yet. And it's not just the rollout, the fact that it's not ready at this point, and the fact that the other thing about this is, for all the talk about bad big business in America, a narrative that Democrats like to advance, well, they're spending an awful lot of time giving employers benefits that they're not giving individuals. So one has to question, is the individual worth as much as the big employer? Apparently not here. So this is bad for the country. I don't think we can afford it. I think it's going to get really bad down the line. We already know millions have lost their coverage. We know that the promises that if you like your doctor, you're not going to lose your doctor. That's not true. If you like your plan, you get to keep your plan. That's not true. Per family savings, $2,500 a year. That's not true. So at some point, one has to ask, when do we cut our losses here? And I'm a little frustrated the Republicans aren't challenging more on it.
Well, Sean, let me ask you a question about one of your shows the other night. We saw North Carolina NAACP leader William Barber. Now, he was confronted about calling Senator Tim Scott a ventriloquist dummy.
Do you feel you owe Senator Tim Scott an apology for calling him mouthpieces in the Tea Party?
It's my job, it's my calling, the job of the NAACP to speak the truth about public policies. And while some people may choose to get caught up on a metaphor that is a regular usage of preachers, the real indignation and upsetness should be over the regressive agenda.
Sean, I'm curious what you thought about Reverend Barber's response. I've read it now 3 times in the transcript. I still can't figure out what it really means, but go ahead, take a shot at it.
Here's my observation on this, and all credit to our colleague David Webb, who went in there. If you notice, the first thing that happened is they laugh. What's so funny about that? The second thing they do is they said, my job, my calling for the NAACP. Is this now what the NAACP represents, that you can call an advancing black conservative a ventriloquist dummy? To me, I'm not stopping here, because this is now, it has reached a point of critical mass, in my view, the way black conservatives are treated. It's gone on long enough. It starts with Clarence Thomas. It goes to Colin Powell. It goes to Condi Rice. Many black conservatives, they have been called the worst, most horrific, most vile names that I can ever imagine. And for some reason, nobody holds the NAACP accountable. So what we're trying to do is, we've been asking them to come on this program and to either repudiate the comments of their North Carolina chapter or admit that this is a liberal organization and it's the advancement of liberal colored people, Democratic colored people, but not conservatives, if they're going to allow that type of rhetoric to be used.
You know, I get the laughing was clearly insulting. I mean, as you couldn't insult Senator Tim Scott more than by the laughing, that kind of thing. But I don't even get what this means. And while some people may choose to get caught up on the metaphor that is a regular usage of preachers, the real indignation and upsetness should be over the regressive agenda. I'm not really, I've read it now 3 times. I don't know why that's a license to insult Senator Tim Scott.
There's other tape that we aired with this last night, and we're going to air with Senator Tim Scott tonight. He asked people at this march, is the Tea Party racist? You hear yes, 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 yes. Give me one example. Nobody can give an example. Now, Barack Obama's entered the 6th year of his presidency, and even Tavis Smiley was on my show one night, and I asked him the question, under Barack Obama's policies, are black Americans better off? By any measure, I think the answer is no. When you have a near 50% youth black unemployment rate in the country, Greta, you know my background. If I didn't work in the summer, I would have been in a lot more trouble than I was already in. This is bad for kids that they don't have a summer job. That means that they're hanging out, and that means the likelihood of trouble is greater for any kid. Secondly, if you look at the national rate, the unemployment for blacks in America, it's nearly double the national average in the black community. So what I'm saying is open season on black conservatives, name-calling, vicious attacks. There's got to be the same level of PC-ness or unacceptability as this is now happening on a regular basis. It's almost like open season on Christians, open season on black conservatives, and I'm fed up with it, to be honest. I think this is appalling, vile, vicious, hateful, and the NAACP, I think, needs to be held accountable.
Well, the target of the rather nasty comments, Senator Tim Scott, I know is joining you tonight at 10 p.m. on Hannity, and as always, we're anxious to hear what he has to say about it, because he takes a lot of beating from them. Anyway,
it's unfair.
Thank you, Sean.